Hi, my name is Chai, and if you couldn't already tell, I am a harpist. The piece that I would like to share with you today is Trail of Stars by Juhi Bansal. She is a composer and conductor, and her music often weaves together themes celebrating musical and cultural diversity, nature and the environment, and strong female role models. Her music draws upon elements as disparate as Hindustani music, the spectralists, progressive metal, musical theatre, and choral traditions to create deeply expressive, evocative sound worlds. As an Indian composer brought up in Hong Kong, her work draws subtly upon both those traditions, entwining them closely and intricately with the gestures of Western classical music. Personally, as a musician who was born in Singapore and went to school in America, I definitely feel a connection with her music as she bridges the soundscapes between her two worlds. We can often be limited by the standard repertoire that our instrument presents to us, but it always amazes me how inspiring and wonderful new works for our instruments can be. Trail of Stars was originally written as part of the cantata We Look to the Stars, commissioned by the Los Angeles Opera. Drawing on myths and writings from different cultures, this cantata is a musical celebration of the wonders of the night sky. Across history, culture, time and space, every division and divide, we all look at the same stars. This cantata embraces our universal human connection with a journey through the night sky through song. For much of the human existence, the night sky was a great mystery that perhaps it became natural that our stories about the stars are as much stories about us as people. We have looked at the stars and seen ways to navigate through sea and over land. We have seen hopes, dreams and inspiration. We have seen love found and love lost, grief and fear, life and death. It is fascinating how much similarity there are in stories from all around the globe, centuries apart. Myths that began in one place ended up thousands of miles distant, told with different names in different countries. Poetic imagery about the stars in one place has hundreds of analogues from other places and other languages. While the words in which we have described our relationship to the stars are as diverse as the people they came from, the stories themselves have overlapping themes, ideas, and images. We Look to the Stars brings together some of these myths, poems, and excerpts of prose to celebrate not only the night sky, but also with it the things that unite us in the human experience. Trail of Stars is inspired by the long exposure images of the night sky, where tracks of stars appear as curving lines created by the Earth's rotation. The music explores shimmering textures, improvisatory, ornamental melodies, and gestures that move rapidly between high and low registers. The piece is divided into little sections and gestures, often alternating between colors and textures. These sections usually return later in the piece, sometimes as is, and at other times developed upon. She creates a shimmering sound world through the registral choices and a recurring technique called bisbliando, which is the rapid tremolo of strings as well as trills and rapid replacements. While it is important to execute them technically, I think it is even more important to make sense of them within the context of the piece, how they fit into the phrase and musical line, and varying the different speeds that we play them to conjure different scenes to keep each one special and unique, highlighting each individual moment. I think that the technical requirements should serve the music, the line, and the phrase. Going back to the idea of nature and the stars in the night sky, it is interesting to explore with the different articulations and varying degrees of shimmeriness to create a soundscape that does each star in the night justice. I learned the piece by dividing them into sections that were similar and worked each section slowly before bringing them up to tempo. I also highlighted in my music the subtle differences that she wrote into each section to make sure that each magical moment was brought out. Also, which sections were similar and how I could make each section different and interesting. The first few days of learning this piece was definitely a challenge, getting each trill and tremolo right to fit into the melody and the phrase, and making sure all the interaction between hands was seamless, clean, and made sense. Once I had learned all the notes, the truly fun part came for me where I could add dynamics, shape, phrasing to the section and explore without feeling afraid of falling out of a trill or buzzing within the strings. My biggest focus on the piece was to bring out melodies wherever she wrote them, as they contrasted so starkly with the atmospheric textures that preceded and followed them. Each section had to have its own character and sound world. Building each section into its own fully realized idea while constructing the overarching shape of the piece was the most fulfilling experience in itself for me, and of course not forgetting to enjoy the beauty of the piece while practicing or performing it. I thoroughly enjoyed working on this piece and I hope you do too.